we acknowledge that human rights language is contested around the world in all spaces for different reasons, and we don't want to go into why that is. But what we are saying is that if we look at the many human rights conventions that are out there that are written in the human rights language, it is very easy to look at those conventions and trace them to things that are relevant in our community. So really trying.
If an example is made that some of the themes that came out from 3 authors who were sitting in 3 different parts of the continent was a theology of mourning. 3 lesbians wrote, and the theme that came out was, without them knowing, so collating themes such as those into prophetic moments and saying, at this moment, this is what is coming out. That's the 3rd thing. And then the 4th one is using social media, making short clips. So people saying things around the LGBTI issue, say maybe addressing homophobia in a 2-3 minute clip, and then putting that out there immediately on YouTube, and it's out there, it's a message everyone can, using social media, passing that around through Facebook. We also spoke about collaborating, for example, with the Gay and Lesbian Network, the drama that they produced. Also using that as a tool for facilitating dialogues within congregations. So letting them, for example, perform the beautiful piece that they performed, but with that comes something like a facilitator's manual to guide the conversation in a congregation. So not just seeing the drama, so the drama evoking emotions, but having something that will continue the conversation, in a congregation, and it is not so confrontational as having someone coming and addressing the church about homophobia. Yeah. So having a theodrama of some sort where the audience gets to see and be impacted, but also speak back into what they've just witnessed. And then the last thing is we are going to have a page on the Ujamaa. A link? Is it a link or a page? It's a page. It's a page on the Ujamaa link, on the Ujamaa website, and it's already up. So we're done, people. We're doing this thing. Wow. Yes. So the African Excellent. Queer Theologies page is up now. So we're done. Where's our prize? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Well, that's excellent. Where am I? Well done. And I think this is what we really wanted, something practical. And I think anyone in the audience who wasn't in this group who wants to participate can still join and be part of what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's move on to lived experience.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. With the lived experiences, we looked at what strategies can we use in mobilizing, and more especially from a community-based side, where we thought that it is important that people who are part of the church and who are homophobic, or people who are sometimes not part of the church, but be involved in processes where organizations that have videos or visuals that they can show. One person made an example that in her organization they have video evenings, because then after that screening, then there can be a debate and an engagement. But we also spoke about the fact that we need stories that are about us in Africa. We are tired of showing prayers for Bobby and what the Bible tell me so. So we need stories that are from home, that talk to issues that that have affected lesbians or gay people who are from the same community. And we also spoke about becoming creative, making sure that homophobia becomes an agenda, a part of the agenda, of the African agenda, and write books that are more positive, books that project protagonist characters rather than those books that are sad and have unhappy endings. And having said that, we also need to then begin to mobilize resources for Sogi writing, because we know that sometimes people write but they don't have resources to take their writings forward. We also spoke about making sure that we develop storybooks for children that are relevant to Sogi issues. Remember, Sogi is sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. And also issues about theater for social change. How do we use theater? I think he put it very well that, theater can also speak volumes. Also looking at moving beyond South Africa, because most of the things are concentrated here in South Africa. And we looked at not only engaging survivors, we move away from the word victims to the word survivors of violence, as well as the perpetrators of violence. Some people were giving examples of how they've worked on these issues, especially the Pietermaritzburg Gay and Lesbian Network spoke about the online radio, how they use online radio to disseminate information. And there was also an issue about community radio station. And there was a question of how community radio station can be used as a vehicle of mobilization and also of organizing more people to be able to understand these issues. Print media with its own limitations, but Pietermaritzburg Lesbian and Gay Network was able to get free advertisement. And there was an issue around also the need for the churches to create a conducive environment for LGBTI people to be able to come to the church. And also there was a question that was asked by many of the church leaders that what can we do? But the group discussed small little things that, that don't need you to get permission from, the highest power. We also looked at the issue of the fact that you can make the LGBTI people to be free to be in your church just by saying, let's have a third toilet, so that people can be free and realize that this is a space to be. And we also looked at issues of quiz games. We also usually play 30 seconds. We can also create the 30 seconds that is based on Sogi, homophobia, and religion to ensure that the young people get engaged on these issues. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope you identified key players in the groups that will carry some of these suggestions forward. Did you identify?
Oh yeah, there was a clear indication that we cannot expect church leaders to invite LGBTI to the church, but also the LGBTI people also need to be able to confront the churches and say, this is what we have, this is how we want to work with you. So, this looks like a collective effort, and there was a point that was raised that we need to be building alliances with other organizations that are working on similar issues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And church leaders?
In our group, we have a long discussion, even though, the time was not really on our side, but we've tried to tackle issues, talking about our short-term goals and long-term goals for our practical intervention. So in our short-term goals, we spoke about mobilization of church leaders that will include LGBTI clergies, and who can organize that, we can work with entities like Council of Churches can play a major role. And number two, to lobbying and advocating towards church policies so that church policies to change. That can be done on a local, national, and international level. And number three, to put these issues on the agenda. And also, number four, levels of interventions we spoke about on a grassroots level, members in our churches, and also LGBTI leaders, for them also to be able to be given a voice. So, and also to be equipped and be developed to be able to lead the Bible studies and assist them to own the space, because that is what is important, that LGBTI clergies also need to have a voice and be out there and own the space. And we also spoke about in our long terms, the issue of restroom or bathrooms, that can be something that can bring change, to have a unisex or non-conforming restrooms in our churches. And also we spoke about policy change in our churches, and the question was the time frame. As you know, that most of the time it's easy to talk about issues of saying that we welcome LGBTI people in our congregation, but then policies don't change. So the issue was, we need to know the time frame, because while we're busy taking longer to change these policies, people are dying out there. LGBTI are being killed, raped, discriminated, and there's many issues that are going on. So we need to know the time frame for these policy changes, and also to continue keeping these issues on the agenda, because sometimes, yes, for the short-term goal, we can be able to be excited and talk about these things, but then in the long run, you find out that these issues have been taken off from our agenda. So it's important to keep it on as an issue of emergency. And number four, we also spoke about creating support groups, as it's a short term, but also in a long term, and have practical tools. It needs to be an ongoing for LGBTI, and also for other leaders who are alliances who are supporting of the work.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think my question would be, when you say we, is it the members of the group that are taking personal responsibilities for all that in the local churches, working together with the Council of Churches?
Yes.
Is that a commitment that is coming out from your group?
From the group.
Yes, so each one taking responsibility, and yes, because we need to
Okay,
be
yeah.
able to concretize our goals, to say who is going to do what with whom, and to make it clear so that it's not abstract.
Can I challenge the Council of Churches? Part of my work in the Foundation for Human Rights is to mobilize, is to work on the national task team and mobilize provinces in establishing provincial task teams. At the national task team, we have a representative from the South African Council of Churches, but in the provinces, we don't have any representative. So I want to challenge the South African Council of Churches to ensure that in each and every province, there is a representative from the Council of Churches in the provincial task team.
Did you want to add anything about who is going to be?
Right. I am going to get into serious trouble now. I first want to ask a quick question. Please, quick show of hands. Do anyone in this room possess an e-Bible? An electronic Bible on your Kindle or on your tablet or... Okay, so this is going to be a really hard task, right? But we're not here because it's easy. So what we want you to do in the language groups, and I hope my language colleagues are going to support me here, we want everyone in the room to make a recording, not in English, unless English is your mother tongue, but in your mother tongue, talking about this process, where this process has taken you. You've been here for 2 days. You have been transformed, we hope. And so we want each and every person to, in their mother tongue, talk for how long ever, 2, 3, 4 minutes. I will twist Neville's arm and I will twist Randall's arm, and we will stick it up on our website. In fact, Gerald, you already have a website going. We'll get all of those those podcasts, those voice cards, those videos. We'll get them up online. Let's start by tackling language right here. The other issue is that it was often said that the reason why languages do not speak to each other is because we are badly coordinated. I know that Reverend Pumzile is forever on my case about coordinating things. So this time I'm actually volunteering her.
Is that volunteering?
Reverend will talk about a little grant, okay? We're going to volunteer Inarella to start with the coordination of really getting people to say what they do in the language of God, in the biblical language, and in the human rights language, getting it to say it in a language of, I'm using your own words, Reverend, in a language of human dignity. So those are the only 2 tasks that right now we're asking you to do. Do a recording in your own language about this process. Tell us where this, and it doesn't have to be, well, it has to be positive, yes. But we really want to know, how the process has affected you. If it hasn't moved you 1,000,000 miles, it's fine. But we need to understand that in your own language, and then B, to all the religious leaders in here, and all the LGBT activists in here, and all the donors in here, we need you to start to talk about this, about the very issues that we need the church to deal with, but not in the language that we currently use, but in the language of human dignity. And what that means to you, we cannot define. There isn't going to be one language, but it's going to be a language that we can weave together.
Okay, so at least there's a practical component.
Reverend Pumzile, am I in trouble? Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know, I was going to throw it to the floor, but we're running out of time. And I just thought we're going to end because today is a significant day where for the 1.3 billion Catholics, because the sort of the exhortation on the family has been released. Yeah. And there is a paragraph that deals with LGBTI, and I've just put the quotation there. So maybe we can just read it, what is being said. Have you managed to load it on the...
Can we go?
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Read it while we are exchanging, and I don't want to comment on it, but just for you to know that today this is what was said about the topic that we're dealing with and the language that was being used, so that we can see that it's not only happening here, but it's also a global issue and coinciding with where we are.